what seems like a fun idea during the fungal zombie apocalypse? Why, a trip to the mall. Greetings and welcome once again to Roman of the Empire. I am your host, Roman. Today we are talking about The Last of Us, Episode 7, Left Behind. It wasn't good. I would argue this is my least favorite episode of the series. It was a flashback episode again. If you'll recall at the end of the last episode, Joel had a baseball bat stuck in his gut, pulled out, he's bleeding out. Ellie and he rode off and he is near death. Well, we don't explore very much of that in this episode. This is all flashback with maybe a minute of what happens. And it's just not a lot there. There's not a lot in this episode. You can probably jump from episode 5 to episode 8, but we haven't seen episode 8 yet, so we'll see what happens. This, many of my colleagues are no longer covering this show. And an episode like this is the reason. But the show really did after episodes 1 and 2, which I talked about, I enjoyed. Episode 3, not so much. 4 and 5, and 6 were fine. They weren't great. They were okay. And now here we are. Episode 7. It's all flashback, giving you just insight into Ellie's character, but I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't care. I don't need to know her backstory. Maybe it was a fun side trek in the video game, which I haven't played, so I don't know. But in context of the show, it really brought a slow-paced show to a halt. I didn't care. I didn't care about anything that happened in this episode. Aside from the 1 minute of Joel, that we got, and that doesn't even reach a resolution point. It's just, it's there in the beginning, it's there at the end, and it's a trip to the mall in the middle. So, not good. It's not a good episode. So this is going to be a really short review as far as, the content of the show itself. I don't have a lot to talk about. So we're going to go there now. Sit back, have a cup of coffee. It'll take about that long. Joel and Ellie, they've made their way to a cabin, and Joel tells Ellie to get out and go find Tommy because he's bleeding everywhere. He's not in a good way. So she's making her way to exit, and boom, we're in the past. Ellie's at the Fedra school. She's getting harassed by some girl. She gets into a fight. The counselor tells Ellie that she has good leadership capabilities, but if she doesn't pull her stuff together, then people like Brittany, who's the girl, are going to tell her what to do. Fine. She's in her room. Someone breaks in. Who could it be? It's her friend Riley, who disappeared out of the quarantine zone. Riley takes her to the mall. They have fun. Riley turns on the power. Everything lights up, which I think is a terrible idea, by the way. Fungal zombie apocalypse and all. So they ride a carousel, which makes a lot of noise. They play video games, which makes a lot of noise. They do a lot of things that make a lot of noise, and I think it's a stupid, stupid idea. They clearly have a thing brewing emotionally between them. Swell. Riley reveals that when she had, during one of her outings away from the quarantine zone, she met a woman, I assume this is Marlene, who thinks she's stealthy, thinks she would be a good fit for the Fireflies. And I've talked about how I feel about the Fireflies. I don't think they are a good organization, a good idea in the time of the zombie apocalypse. That's my take on it. So she's joined up with the Fireflies, and she's going to be going off to Atlanta, which makes Ellie sad. They have a moment. Then you see one of the infected, obviously out of the way. They didn't see him before. He's kind of splattered to a wall in what was my favorite part of the show. But he wakes up. Jeez, how could he possibly wake up when it's dead quiet? Oh, no, except for all the goddamn noise in the mall. So he wakes up. Ellie asks Riley not to go. Riley says, okay. All right. And then the zombie comes in and attacks them. The fungal zombie comes in and attacks them. Ellie stabs the thing in the head after a bit of a kerfuffle. So that was when she said it wasn't her first time killing someone or whatever. She was, I guess, implying this instance as well. Whatever. But during the kerfuffle, they both get bit. Uh-oh. So we know what happens with Ellie. We never know what ends up happening with Riley because they're sitting there looking at Riley's gun, and she's like, "Well, we could take the easy way out, or we could just see what happens." Kind of riding into the crazy together. That appears to be what they chose, but we never know what happens to Riley. We only know what happens to Ellie, and then we jump back, and Ellie's decided she's not going to go get Tommy, which again seems like not a great idea, but I don't know. And she starts sewing Joe up with some needle and thread that she found. And that's the end of the episode. There's a lot of things I didn't like in all of this, which you're probably not surprised at. I don't need to explore Ellie's origin story or her motivations. What we've gotten is honestly enough. We know that she is immune, that she's kind of a shit, and that we've slowly been warming to her over the last few episodes. And then we get this whole thing last night, which is completely just a waste of time. I know some of you out there, and I don't, please, while I do want you to comment on the video because I do enjoy that, don't write a dissertation as to why I'm wrong. You can just say, hey, I don't agree with you, and bullet points are nice. Bullet points are good. It was an unnecessary episode. I would have much rather dealt with the Joel situation than be bored for an hour or so watching Ellie and Riley frolic around the mall. I just didn't care about this episode. Didn't care. I mean, if you want to lose viewers, but this is episode 7. There are only 2 episodes left, and they throw this garbage episode in. So, needless to say, it didn't serve a purpose for me. I don't need the origin. Just don't. I don't want to go back to Joel's Arby days or see him on the construction site having jokes with Tommy. Don't care. What I've gotten out of these characters is enough. So it was a waste of an hour. Don't watch the episode. I'll continue to watch the show for you if you're not into it at this point. So, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I thought this was going to be more than what I've gotten. I'm sure the video game wasn't this dull because you wouldn't have gotten a show. But it's not good. Anyway, that's it for now. That's it. I'm going to watch episode 8. There's only 2 more left, like I said, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, this has been Roman of the Empire. Please like, subscribe, comment. No dissertations. Be kind.